Okay, while I'm in the process of getting Eula, I wanted to talk briefly about one of my favorite support characters in the game in the form of Rosaria, actual support. Here we are against Masanori with Rosaria, and in this team we're also going to have Yanfei, Aloy, and of course Sayu. There's no real reason why I'm picking a team like this. I just like these characters, so that's basically how we're going to roll. So, the thing about Rosaria is that there are certainly so many ways you can actually use Rosaria. A lot of people use Rosaria as a DPS character. A lot of people use Rosaria in much the same way that I am, as like a reverse belt or belt support character, like so. And the great thing about Rosaria is that it's really the fact that her ultimate gives your allies crit rate, and I just find that to be so useful and such a fantastic option to have. So, where a lot of people will say like, oh, if you're building a Eula team, for example, maybe you want to go for Diona for Cryo Battery and all that good stuff. To me, I think the best Cryo Battery would have to be Rosaria, not just because of being a Cryo Battery, but also just being a crit giver, which is probably something that's really important for Eula in general, because it looks like a lot of people actually want to use Eula for her ultimate attack. So that kind of thing will be a thing. So let's have a look at the build that we're using on Rosaria, because this is actually going to be a rather unusual build for most Rosarias. This is the build that I am using on Rosaria. So I have actually made her level 90, and I have every intention of getting all of her abilities to level 9. Whether or not I triple crown her, that remains to be seen. Right now I'm going to be crowning A, so we'll just have to move on from there. In terms of her details, the main thing is that 81% crit rate, as well as 147% crit damage is actually quite nice. And you may notice the 168% energy recharge, because I really like using Rosaria's ult as much as possible. Otherwise, her other stat would be her cryo damage bonus. That's of course coming from a cup. So the weapon that I'm using on Rosaria is going to be a deathmatch, currently R2. Whether or not I go even further with that remains to be seen. But right now I'm using a deathmatch because of that extra crit rate. If I get rid of deathmatch, then my crit rate on Rosaria would be somewhere around the 47-ish mark, just under 50%. So the artifact set that I'm using is actually a 4-piece Noblesse Oblige set. Wow, I completely butchered that name. But the idea is that we're using her as a support character, in the sense that we're actually buffing our teams. Not only when I use my ultimate as a level 90 Rosaria do I buff my team's crit rate, but when I use my ultimate, I also buff my team's attack by 20% for 12 seconds. And that is the same duration that my ultimate is active, which means that is the same duration that my ultimate will be buffing my team's crit rate as well. So huge buffs, not just a crit rate buff, but also an attack buff. And with my 81% crit rate, what that means is that I am giving just under 14% crit rate to my ally. So that's going to be really, really good. I could try and make the effort to go all the way to the 100% crit rate to give the full 15% additional crit rate, but honestly, I don't think that's going to make a huge difference. In terms of constellations, I'm currently sitting at C5 with the potential of getting C6, in which case then I suddenly open myself up to a completely different way of playing Rosaria, or playing the same way with Rosaria, but then making her even more of a support character for Eula, because that Divine Retribution is going to decrease physical resistance by 20% for 10 seconds. That is, of course, going to be very, very strong with Eula. Otherwise, like I said, talents are currently sitting at 8, 10, 12, or for those who don't have constellations, that's 8, 7, 9? So there we go, that's where we're at the moment. I'm not really focusing on my special in terms of its damage. I am only using my special, well, I am using my special for its damage, but the way I think about using my special is more along the lines of getting energy, and also increasing the crit rate of Rosaria if I happen to be behind someone when I use that special attack, because that increases Rosaria's crit rate as well. So that's pretty much it. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. Rosaria is a ridiculously versatile character. I have seen Rosaria nukes, I've seen physical DPS Rosaria, there are some people who use cryo DPS Rosaria through the use of her ultimate and of course her special. In fact, that actually kind of leans closer to Rosaria nuking. But then for me, I am looking at her more as the ultimate support character. That additional crit rate has got to be one of the most valuable things that I have ever seen in the game in terms of helping me build characters. When I'm using Noelle, for example, with my lower than desired crit rate, that's not going to be a bit of an issue when I have Rosaria's ult that is then bumping up that crit rate to fill in that gap. When I'm using a character like Yanfei, right now my crit rate on Yanfei is sitting around the 40-ish mark. So it's not ideal, but that's not as big of a problem when I have Rosaria's ult that bring it up to the 55% mark thereabouts. So that's basically how I feel about that. And also because she's a cryo character, when I use her with Aloy, if I'm going to use my Blizzard Straya Aloy, then at that point not only am I getting extra crit rate from the cryo resonance, I'm also getting extra crit rate from the Blizzard Straya set, and then I'm also getting extra crit rate from Rosaria's ult. So there's just so much that you can use with Rosaria's ult and that extra crit rate that for me, it kind of makes her the ultimate support character, and I'm a little bit shocked that she's not used that much in something like Spiral Depression, for example. But maybe, you know, obviously everyone's using better than Sin 2, but Rosaria, I think, is a fantastic option. So that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoy this. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more Genshin Impact action. Now until next time, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye!
逃げ道はありません。よしよ、マークを呼ぶな。諦め。豪華の抱擁。いや、許さない。